Hey,
What
everyone.
have you done that you are disabled?
I was in the army, and I got injured while I was on tour, basically. So I.
Oh, so yeah. It's something permanent.
Oh yeah, it's definitely permanent. Not a lot I can do about it, unfortunately. I was going to drop all of this LI stuff from my Tailwind magic that I just pulled in to try and give it a navigation. Don't want any of that. Get rid of all of that nav. And we can remove all of that. And I'll format all of that stuff later. So let's close all of this. And here we go. We have a basic application ready to rock and roll, in effect. None of the links are working yet, but that's another story for another day. Hey, Haz, how you doing, mate? So we are going to do Livewire stuff today. And I thought a good place to start would be, this is the Mellow project, which I've been building in the background. It stands for Minimal Trello. So it's just a very simple project management application. I always do 2 double slashes. So I'm just going to register quickly. Super secret password. No, I don't want to use a Safari one because I want it to be easy to remember. Right, never for this website. Cool. I am logged in, and this is a Jetstream application. What I'm going to do is I am going to shrink my window a little bit to make sure that the frame rate doesn't go crazy, because we've had some mental weather here in Wales. So
I can definitely say that now it's fine again. But always, if you have the browser in, we have some parts of the stream frozen.
Yeah, I keep getting that at the moment. So I'm just going to just drop some of these down to a reasonable size so I don't get the issues that I'm expecting. So I can easily swap between windows. I'm not going to need that much. And this should now work nicely. If I swap to dark mode, it does nothing. Light mode, dark mode, perfect. So that I will fix in a second. So first thing I'm going to want to do is in our navigation, we've got background white. But then when we are in dark mode, we want the background to be gray 900. So let's go make sure some of that is working. I've even shrunk down my the ratio, my screen a little bit. Refresh this. Okay, I'm gonna have to have a look at light mode, dark mode later because it's not really important. Hey, everyone who's joined. Yeah, there's lag. It is raining a lot here in Wales, and we had a power cut at like 1 a.m. this morning. So I'm expecting a couple of issues, but we'll try to get through them. I've even come and I think my I even put my screen resolution down like really ridiculously low. It's like 1280 by 720, and it's a 4K monitor. So I'm hoping it will just work. I am hoping. So Livewire. First thing we want to do is, because we're going to be making, this is a project management application, we'll do the project management stuff. Let me move that bar out of the way. So we'll create a quick route so we can go and start creating it. I am logged in. That's not me, but that's not important. So if we come over to, hey, some people joining. Wow. Tom, you've brought people with you. I like it. I like it already.
Yeah. It seems like I have something like a community.
It would appear so. Right, so first thing I'll do is I'll create a few routes. So we're going to create we want some middleware. Stick that middleware in there. We'll say everything in here is going to be called dashboard, no, app. And we'll just group everything. I've done a little bit of work in the background to make sure this is ready to go. So I've got the models and everything set up now. So prefix, we are going to want projects. This is going to be app projects. So let's group and let's put them in a nice group. The first one is the I'm just going to go straight for like the create page, I think. Unless, would you rather have like a slide out panel controlled by Livewire that kind of allows you to create projects and you can see it added into your view? Or how would you like that, Tom? Because you're the one who wants to know some more Livewire. So what I'm thinking here is you've got like an index view, which has got a list of your projects on. And when you click create, a panel slides out from the side, which allows you to enter it. You click create project, it adds it to the list on the index page, and you can then go into it from there. Or do you want to go to like a full page for creating a project and work on Livewire components in there? Which would you prefer?
I think project isn't not that complex, so modal window or slide out, pop out, however you want to name it, should be enough. I just don't like these components if the form gets too complex. So if you have to scroll endlessly or have a multi-step inside of the modal, it's all crazy. But I think a project is something like name and possibly that's even it.
There's not too much going on with it, to be honest. So I'm going to make a quick controller. Actually, it's already wrapped in middleware, so I'm going to be like even cheekier.
Regarding the legs, I'm pretty happy that what you are doing inside of VS Code is all perfectly. Only if you switch windows, the menu bar or something, so the top bar and so on. Yeah, now your screen is going crazy.
Wow, there's literally no settings in here.
If you switch windows and move windows, everything goes crazy. But what happens inside of VS Code is fine. So
okay, so I'll try to stick to VS Code for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I will do it like this. So I have minimal interruptions. Try and make that a bit bigger so it's visible. There you go. That, once the internet decides to play catch up with me resizing my window, that should be fine. So we're just going to create a new view. So resources views. I like to create a little app folder in there. Then we're going to create a projects. And within there, we are just going to create an index.blade.php. This is just pure Blade. It's a whole entire view. So we're just going to do user app layout component in there. This is going to list all of them, right? We are wanting to show every single one. So what I'm going to do in my other screen is find some components on Tailwind UI, and we'll probably just have stacked list, maybe something like that. something nice and simple. Let me grab one of these. And for now, I will just grab that code and I shall stick it in and just leave it at that. We'll eventually move this off to a component. So here's our layout there. Drop that code in. We'll come back to, oh, I've got to go back to the UI. Oh no. Projects. So we have got projects. Oh, this internet is really just ridiculous. Okay, we'll come back here. We'll fix it in a moment. So let's just move all of this to one side. So we know that we're going to have, this is a section, and we're going to want to have this to be, it's going to stick it mostly in that. So let's create that section. Let's drop all that code in. Right, that is too much space, so 16 will half it. There we go. Then if we just come to the bottom one, this will allow me to quickly collapse it. There we go. This is also going to be a container, MX auto. Make sure it looks half reasonable. There we go. So what we need also is we need like a little header section, like a section heading, which is going to have some quick actions, which we can just stick at the top. So these will trigger parts of it. So I'll set another section here. This is another section. Then what we'll do is this will be your projects. And this button will eventually be a Livewire button. And that is looking horrible. So we will grab the styling for this, which means we can now drop padding on the top. There we go. Nice and simple there. We've got a very simple your projects, a list of your projects with a create new, which does absolutely nothing. So now we know roughly how we want that to lay out. We're going to want to start to introduce some Livewire. So this is going to be the create new project button. So create project, and that we want that to open an overlay, don't we? So we want a nice slide over. So I'm just going to go grab one from again Tailwind UI because
right now.
You joke again. Oh, it's because I do it on the other screen because I don't know what the rules are with Tailwind UI. I can't really show me looking through Tailwind UI and grabbing the components themselves, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would.
I just thought you are already doing something Livewire.
Yeah, sorry. So we want that, and we want this to be, here's a little slide over. So I'm just going to grab this slide over and we'll put it in place, and we should now see it. It's probably going to look absolutely terrible to start with, but we'll sort it all out. So we've got that bit, we've got that bit. So I'll put the slide over at the top here. I'll stick it in a section again because I like using sections. And for now, we will just say, right, let's just move that one down. and we'll come down to the last bit and we will do that as well. So let's have a look. Wait for the screen to catch up. We have a full screen What's a Madoodle. This is what we're going to want. Something like this. It's going to want to open this to allow us to quickly create one. So if I just fix some of this quickly, to start with, right, so to start with, the main problem I found with Tailwind UI is finding the right bit to use. I'm going to use, if I edit as HTML, because if you just go and copy the HTML code from Tailwind UI, you get all of the different options and all these comments about how you should translate it, and all of these leaving from entering, slide over panel, all that stuff, which is obviously it's important, but it's not why I'm using it.
What I'm doing is I already copy it from the real source code, because right click, inspect element and so on, because
that
this
is exactly
already
what I just did.
Yeah, so it's prepared for Alpine already. So I have to do nothing. I just can copy it and it works. I don't have to do this. And here you have to add a listener and do this and do blah and just copy and works.
Copy, it works, you're done. Right, so I need to do some X-data-y stuff, I believe. So that's that. That's the actual that's the slide over part. So now we need I'm going to leave it there for now, because this is more about Livewire than me fixing stuff and making Alpine look nice. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. So we need a Livewire component, don't we? So we will make a new Livewire component. This is to do with projects. And this will be a project list. Yeah, sure. Have some love. Oh, not right now. I'm on a stream. Right. I have got some Livewire now. So I've got something that I can use. So this is the content. This is the header. We kind of need most of this in that component, don't we? So what I can do is I could just say Livewire projects project list.
I don't know how Livewire works this way, but shouldn't we only add the lowest section, which really lists all the things into the Livewire component? And the other part is possibly a simple blade view, because you have this button, but
we should do it that way.
New,
we will do it that way. We will do it like this. Okay, so I'm going to grab that, and so that I can keep some structure, I will do that as well. So eventually, this will just be a replication of that. So excellent. There's a little bit more space. And what I'm going to do for now, to make it easier to kind of actually concentrate, let's just comment that out so we can actually see this. So now we can go to our component and we can actually start creating it. So, hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. The first thing we want to do is make sure we've got our data, right? We want to make sure our data is prepared. So in our mount method, this is how I like to do certain things in Livewire. So this is going to be a list, which we're going to want to keep updated, right? So we're going to have some projects up there. So we're going to want to create some projects, but because we know we're going to catch an event later on, we're going to want to we're going to want to poll this, really, aren't we? So we can have is this what we want to do? I'll come back to the polling. We'll come back to polling. So this projects equals auth user projects. No, because I want to include extra. So we're going to have a project, and we are going to want to load in the theme. And that's it for now. And we're going to say where the user ID is the authenticated user, and we will just get them.
You could simplify it by out user projects with theme get. So you don't have write out this where condition.
Ooh, okay.
So the first thing you already had.
So auth user projects.
Yeah, but projects as a method and add this with.
I'm meant to be teaching you.
Only Livewire. Laravel, I can teach you. No.
Yeah, I've not actually done that before. No, I've not done it that way before. I've always been like, oh, how am I going to do it? Is there a difference if you set project value in render? Yes.
Now go to all of your Laravel apps and refactor it.
Not on stream, because that will be embarrassing.
No. But what's this as? It returns the instance of your, I think it's a has many relationship. And
yes.
There's also an instance of the eloquent query builder. So you can do everything you want on this instant as well. Same as you could possibly even do inside of this projects method, a scope like sys return sys has many projects, and add a where condition like is active true, because you don't want to show inactive projects or whatever. So you can do all the same stuff you can do on the real eloquent query builder on this relationship as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
And you can even use the scopes you have defined on the project, because you are on an instance of the project query builder in this case.
I'll definitely do that next time. So we got a question. Is there any difference if you set project's value in render function? Yes. So if you're going to paginate, then you're best doing it down here. But because I know the way we're going to use this is slightly different to how you might typically do it, I'm sticking it in the mount method. Otherwise, you would, you'd stick it within here, and you'd query it there while it's rendering. But I'm doing it in the mount method because I know I'm going to want to manipulate it a little bit later on. That's the only reason.
Is it related also to the Livewire lifecycle? So when mount and render are called, or is this unimportant?
So mount is called before render, because you mount the component, you accept any parameters, you set them as attributes, and then you render so that they're accessible. But because of how I'm going to be doing things, I'm sticking it all that way. So
one question I had regarding the life cycle is, it's a documentation. It says that the mount method runs once immediately after the component is instantiated, but before render is called. But what does once mean in a context of a PHP application? So you do a request to. Okay, and the height rate and updating are called multiple times per request, possibly, or why is this special?
I'm definitely not one. Yeah, I'm definitely not one to answer that one. My Livewire experience is kind of I'd maybe describe it as hobbyist. I can use Livewire pretty well because I've been using it since it got announced, but I'm very much kind of I'm a hobbyist sort of guy. I just kind of build what I need. Right, let me just delete all of this extra stuff so that this part here, this should just be one. Right, so in here, I will do a stick that in there for now.
I love this 4L split directive.
I love it.
Yeah,
I use it so much. Yeah, a lot. I didn't actually know about it until a while ago, which is quite embarrassing. But so, it's really good. And what I typically do actually is I create a blade component called empty state. And in here, I will typically just do like a flex items center justify center. And then do that. And what I do is I do padding that, and I will do some padding that side as well.
So Marion clarified in the comments regarding the life cycle, and it is really sets amount is special in that case. So
yeah,
it's related to it's like
the constructor.
If you do a full refresh, isn't it? Yeah. So if you do a full refresh of the page, mount and render and so on are called. But as long as you stick on the same page and only do interactive Livewire stuff, mount and render aren't called, or render I think is called again, but the mount isn't called again.
Okay.
That's how I understood it, Marion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, that sounds updated. So after every Ajax call, which allows you to do like, for example, you could do an updated projects. So if I updated
this is Italian.
Attribute, yeah, so I do that all the time. That will update. This will be ran when this is updated, or you've worked with that attribute there. So if you want to catch everything, which is how you do real-time validation, because then you can just like validate that specific field. Or updated will be literally every XHR request will be like, right, cool, got a message, what can I do? Which I have used on another project, which was quite fun. Right, so there's the empty state. And what we've got here is X empty state. You have no projects yet. That is showing just how we wanted it to. So now we can come back to here and we can delete that. So we have no projects yet. That is perfect. So what we want is, let's just format this a very, very small amount.
Doesn't VS Code have a format file functionality?
It does, but it's never worked for me. It just bloody worked.
Possibly check out PHP Storm.
Hey, Christoph, thanks for joining. If you want to come and teach me how to use Laravel properly like Tom just has, then feel free.
Hey, Christoph, right, so that's a nice way of promoting your own project, Christoph.
Yeah, definitely. We heard about this through Lara streamers, so we'll... And here we go. Oh, no, I don't need my own one in my calendar, but we've got a nice one tomorrow, so I can download the ICS. Excellent. No, that is another one.
Marion.
So there we go. RAM, I know, it's a RAM killer. Right. PHP Storm. I've got PHP Storm. I just don't use it. Where is it? Here we go. I've got a license for it. I can't give away enough licenses for it. Right. So this is our project list, which will be updated as time kind of like things happen. So what else we need? We need like another aspect here. We need this to be a Livewire component as well. So we're going to have.
Does the whole thing have to be a Livewire component?
No, just the button, really. The button. Yeah. So we can do PHP Artisan, make a Livewire, and it's going to be relatively similar. And we're going to see projects, create button. We'll just call it something nice and simple. So what we can do, we could probably grab that.
Why I'm asking so much is that I think it was AEQ, however you are named, who said that he had problems with too complex and child and parent Livewire components. So that's why I try to prevent it.
It can get tricky, but it really does depend on what you're doing as well, because if you have one parent component with lots of child components and you're emitting events, it's hard to choreograph who's listening to what. Right, so we have that create button there. So now that should disappear. So now if we come down to Livewire, I stick them in view files still, by the way, because I like the organization of them, if I'm completely honest. So here's our little create project there. And what we'll do a wire click. That doesn't need to be a button, really, does it? We'll keep it as a button because accessibility or something. We'll just have a create method. So then in our create button here, we can just have a public function create. And then we'll die and dump on that saying test. So that gives us the behavior we're expecting. We have a button. When we click it, we are triggering a method. So we're just saying, okay, so hit this method, which will be there, which means that now I can say this emit open slide over or something like that. Yeah, open slide over will be good enough. Right,
what
so
does
we've got the button.
Do in this case?
It emits an event to other Livewire components, basically, which you will see in just a second. So we'll make another component, and this will be the create slide. Oh, no, that's going to be too wordy. Projects, create form. Here we go. Here's a create form. So
one question I have for this kind of interactivity, is there a real benefit of doing it with Livewire instead of plain Alpine, JavaScript, whatever? So is there a real benefit of doing it via HTTP, going to the server, emitting an event, which does whatever magic and...
Maybe not for this bit, but because I know that I want this part to be in there, and we want buttons here and stuff there. I know you can't emit events as well through Alpine, or I don't know how to. And because this slide over is going to have some aspects within it already, it's going to be slightly different.
Okay.
So I'm losing. Okay, create form. So there's a create form, which is going to be basically that. So this view for now, we don't need. We've now finished that view. So that's not changed. That's still exactly the same. That event has been omitted, but we're not catching it anywhere. Projects list we can come back to. So now on that create form, we can do a protected listeners. I will just get rid of the HTML that I've got in my text output. There we go. So what we're doing here is the button is emitting this event. So we want to listen for that event, and when we hear that event, open panel. So we can say public function open panel, and then we can just say this open is true. So we can say
you have a tuple in the listeners variable.
I do. I've had,
and again,
yeah, I've had one of those days where I've just been doing crazy stuff.
I know this. If you are on stream, it's your typographic brain part just shuts up.
So this is our basic part of it. So what we will do is we will just wrap it in another div, because when in doubt, stick it in a div. Or 7. That's my approach. And what we could do now is I usually just do a quick if open. That's now and there. We can drop that X show because we're doing something slightly different. And
one question, could you use this also in the render method itself? So instead, if open is false, just return an empty string, for example, instead of a full view? Just a question. I don't know if it works.
I don't actually know, to be honest. I don't touch the render method because I don't want to mess things up. I don't know how often it gets called or if you can re-render.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I tend to avoid that and do things differently. I try to control it in different methods instead of toggling what view's being rendered in case there's any performance issues. So there we go. That is now open. The only downside to doing this in Livewire, as you can see, there's no click away.
Yeah.
So if I come back to the create form, we should have here's all of that. There's a form. I don't know where that X is. Probably near the bottom somewhere.
I think there wasn't an X. There was a cancel button on the bottom.
This is what I'm looking for. We are looking for the.
This is what we don't see.
Yeah. So let's go to this bit. This
is avatar. Yeah.
So we are going to say wire click.prevent, and we are going to toggle.
Is it minus prevent? I think it's click.prevent.
Oh, God. It is. So I've been doing loads of stuff in 12 different million languages today, so I apologize if I forget what I'm doing.
And I have to tell you that you should format your HTML.
I know. Shut up, you. Right, so hopefully this now works how I want it to. So I can create the project. Don't do this to me. Right, we're stopping the stream. I've had enough already. Create, close, create, close. Perfect. Right, now I can format things. Now I can format it the way I want it to. So I don't want any of these down here right now. We don't want to add team members right now. Drop some of this. Format the document. There we go. Right. Now we've done that. We've got our toggleable little side panel. Wow, most of this is relatively close to what I needed. It's almost like I grabbed the right component from Tailwind UI without realizing. So let us, first thing we need to do is we are going to have a title. We want a description. We'll stick to those two for now. Close a panel. Here's another closed panel for some reason. We'll just get rid of that one because we're not actually using. This is why I don't format using their formatter much, because it doesn't make sense to me when the way they format it. I like things a specific way because I'm bloody picky. Right. Project
but
title.
It's definitely better than your everything on one indentation.
That's true. I will give you that. And usually what I do is I will do this now because it's going to be easier. I'll create a folder within components, say forms, inputs. And I will have a text input in here. And what I typically do is I just grab this, stick this in here so I can, those will be different. This won't be. So I can just do things the way that I want them to work. Right, so now I can just get rid of that. And I can say X forms, inputs, text. We want the ID of this to be title. We want wire model to be title, and it is required. And that is all we need. So now we open that, that's fine. So if I come back to here and set the first title to be test, it's already in there. We have now got our component wired up the way we want it to. Moving the sidebar to the right side helps a lot. I like it there. It's always been there in every editor. Every editor is over there. I like it. Right.
I have to agree with Steve.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's wrong with Zubair that he uses the sidebar on the right side.
Right. So our title is, we always want a title. It's always going to be required. Always needs to be a string. There's no validation on uniqueness for this specific part of it. But I want to set a max of, I don't want anything to be ridiculous. So do a max of 140 for now, because if you put it in the title, it probably shouldn't be there. And then the description for the validation, this is nullable because it's not required, but when we do have it, we want it to be a string. And that is that. So we've got that. Here's a description. We will create another input in here. So I want to make sure that style-wise we are okay. And we'll set those by default to be 4 for now. Let's do the attributes in there so things can be nice and clean. Grab that text area, tell it to piss off. And now we can do an X forms inputs text area. We can set the ID to be description and the wire model to be description. And we'll say, okay, so we're going to have 4 rows to start with. That should now be exactly the same. Yeah. So at this point, I usually look at, okay, do I want to, every time I do an input, do I want it to be sent off to the component on the back end to do any validation? And most of the time I don't. I don't need real-time validation on certain things here. So I can just defer sending these by adding the .defer here. So what that is going to do is, instead of I type and it sends that request, so let me come and have a look at that network tab and XHR. So we've got this, that is all that. So I can say that isn't sending because we're deferring. But if we come back and okay, 2 seconds. And create the project. And now, every time I type, we are sending another request, and it's completely pointless. You know, I'm going to validate at the end. I'm not too fussed about that right now. So I will get rid of that. Get rid of, don't even that.
Do you have to define this for every single wire model, or is there a global way to use this for the whole component?
I believe you've got to do it for every model. I've not looked into that, if I'm completely honest. I just define it on the ones that are important. Like if I am going to add another one on here, like team members, let's say I was going to do type ahead for team members. I don't want to defer that. I want that to be real time so I can pull them back in nice and quickly. Right, and then field set, we're not worrying about privacy because we are Google. Let me now close that so we can see it. We don't need copy link or learn more stuff. So we can probably just get rid of that. So we have another button here. Damn buttons everywhere. We can just do a wire. Because it's a button inside the form, I'm going to add the prevent on that one, and we'll just toggle because that should now close it. So
and it's a wire column. You have wire dot click.
Oh, it's because I was using Alpine yesterday, Inertia today, Livewire the day before. It gets hard to remember these things. Right, there we go. We can close it nice and easily.
Yeah. I think the main difference between Alpine and Livewire notation is that you prefix the same what you are writing in Alpine with a wire.
Yeah. This
I
don't need. So I can now come to the top of the form and say, right, let's just format it the Steve way. All right, wire submit dot prevent. We want to send this to the submit method. So now if I, excellent, submit is not found. This is my version of TDD on Livewire at the moment is, does it work? Nope. Better add that method. There's my red-green refactor right there. I don't have time to do TDD when I'm on a stream. Otherwise, you will not see me do much other than writing a test. Right, so we are submitting. I'm going to be really annoying now and just do my return types because it annoys me when I don't have.
There's an interface for view, illuminate contract, support view. Exactly. Not support, sorry, yeah.
It returns either, I believe, but I always do that one because it's the first one in the list. And we're not going to return from submit right now. So what we can do is we can say this validate.
What happens with the return value? So if you would return, for example, a Boolean of from submit, would anything happen with it, or is it just, yeah, return a Boolean and I do the same shit as before?
I mean, I'm not actually sure.
So would you be able, for example, to use the Boolean in somewhere?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I don't think it matters too much. This is more just, because that's how I want to do things, I guess. I'm going to set, for now, I'm going to set a min to 2. Minimum project name title 2. That is now failing validation, but we aren't showing validation yet. So what I typically do at this point is come down to the auth, come down to register. I don't like how it does that. I hate them all at the top. So I'm going to come down to the profile, update profile information, scroll down a little bit, and just grab that part there. So come back over to here. And if we have an error, this will be for title. And if we have an error there, I'm going to do that one for description. So now, straight away validation. That isn't validating because it's not required. But obviously, we aren't doing any sort of, do you want to see real-time validation or not? Are you bothered about real-time validation?
It works the same. You only have to remove the defer.
Yeah, I'd have to remove the defer, but also I will need to do a public function updated. Just that. And it's gone.
Shouldn't it be on updating?
No, updated. When that attribute, that wire model has been updated, validate.
Oh yeah, because otherwise you would validate the old value. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So I'm not bothered about real-time validation because I'm lazy. Where's Mum? Oh, go on then. Shut my door, please. Kids. Right, where were we? We can do this. We can then get through. That'll validate, and then we are hitting this part here, which will be creating. We are now going to be creating the project here, and then at that point, we're probably going to want to like emit an event, and then toggle again, basically after resetting the component. That is kind of what we do in order here. So we would just say project create. We want the title to be, so now let's do this title. If we want to do anything extra like stripping tags or anything, this is where we'd do it, normalizing it or anything like that.
Shouldn't you create the project on the user?
You can do. I mean, you can just
out user projects create as project as a method.
You can do it that way.
In Laravel, you can do. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want to do. I typically don't personally. I usually just pull in the model because I hate that red line.
But what does this red line say? Because this is
it's an IntelliSense
because
issue.
It doesn't.
It's undefined. Yeah. Okay. So it bugs me. So I just use a model. So this is where I'd say, okay, so this emit project created. We then want to reset. And when I reset, in theory, that should set that back to open back to false. So let's test. Let's test this. I want to create a test project with a test description. Field key doesn't have a default value. Of course it doesn't, you idiot. Okay, so that is part of my setup. So what we've got on our models, our project, we should have an observer, which we have not registered because I ran out of time. So let me just go register this observer and that problem should go away. Yeah. I like to use model observers.
I always use the event service provider, but yeah, I definitely agree that you should use
and all I've got
as
here
granular as possible service providers as possible.
Yeah. So that is now being observed. So this should now not be a problem. So I can say test, save. We haven't selected our theme. Right. That was the next part, what I hadn't actually gotten around to. So what I want is, I want like a, how do I want this to work? We want like a kind of something. So what do we want?
Theme is something like in Trello that you can select the background color, for example, and so on.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Okay.
I don't know whether maybe a radio group would be best.
I don't know how many themes you have.
There's not actually that many. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick it in a select. Select string theme. Yeah, we'll set theme there. And then when we mount, I'm going to actually have to go soon. My 2-year-old son is not having a good day and he's autistic, so I might have to cut it short and go look after him.
Okay.
I just got a message from my wife saying he's going absolutely mental. So I'm going to have to cut it short, but we'll pick this up again next time. That's okay, everyone?
Yeah.
Cool.
Family first.
Yeah, sorry for that, everyone. I will catch you later.
Okay, so later today or really something?
I will see how well he goes. I can just about hear him screaming. So I better go see how he's doing. Cool. I will drop you a message on Twitter and I'll tweet out if I get a chance to come back on.
Sure.
See you later.
See you.